All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started with our meeting. Thank you all for taking the time to be here with us today. All right. So today we're going to obviously walk through some of our usuals. I got two quick call reviews for us today. Go through some of our updates and our usual metrics, and then be available for any questions. I feel like I've added more and more QR codes as time has gone on here. So yeah, if you want to have your phone out, there is a QR smorgasbord on your way. All right. So first of all, just kudos. We're gonna give a shout out to MedStar and New Athens School. This was an event that was arranged by one of our stars moms and her school, especially her one-on-one school nurse, who put a lot of work into arranging this. But trying to just, make sure everybody felt comfortable with two of our stars kiddos that were in their classrooms. I think this is a future place where we can have a lot of impact. Some of you probably have more interactions with your schools than others, but just an opportunity sometimes to have pre-made emergency plans for us to know where to go in schools, for school nurses to have a plan for how to give us need-to-know information regarding our patients. And so just some things that I think we can take away from that. We have done it a few times within the last year. And I think we're starting to learn so much from it that the goal is going to become to come up with a training or a course to make available to school nurses and EMS providers if you have an interest in that. But I think a place where unfortunately sometimes we get a lot of confusing situations taking place because the primary caregivers aren't present. And it was just awesome to kind of get everybody together and come up with a game plan for what we should do if the school needed to call 911. So. Cool. So like I said, I do have two relatively quick call reviews. This one is for a star from Granite City, across the river there. And main thing out of this is I think this is just a shout out to Doc Laffey, but the crew documented that he had a stridulous cough. So I thought not only was that pretty amazing, but also just to speak to that continued paradigm shift of when we're assessing kids, where is the adventitious lung sound coming from? And if it's coming from the trachea, it does not need albuterol, right? Like we need a different drug. And so relatively straightforward call, but I thought pretty awesome to call. Yeah, he's sick and he's having abnormal high pitched sounds from his upper airway. This is a time for racemic epi and not albuterol. So I hope that's become fairly common practice, across the area, but just a testament to advances and changes as we all kind of get better at picking up on that. The second call I wanted to draw some attention to is what appears to be a relatively benign call. So you can see this is the EMS trip sheet from back in early August, to the point that their primary impression was like we just kind of performed a general child exam and no real finding. Dispatched to a kid with a fever. They got a temp that said it was 98.6. Mom gave him some meds, and he just had some throwing up. So we took him to the hospital. So not a lot going on the surface here. Um, but and actually, this is from the ED, the first note in the ED, and it appears the ED kind of agrees with the whole assessment. They're like, hey, he's here. He had a bout of emesis during a feed. He's had maybe a short seizure, and just a mild fever earlier. They actually got a temp of 98.4 in the ED as well. So nothing really huge at the forefront. And then just one kind of slight note about 5 hours into the ED visit of, hey, we had a sudden episode of desaturation. We tried to suction, still remaining pretty desatted, and ultimately ended up putting the kid back on his baseline 2 liters of oxygen that he's normally on at night, but not on during the day. Struggled to get him back up to normal sats just from that. So ultimately, we were admitted. So that was on August 3rd. Even as of August 5th, still continuing to deal with hypoxic events, ultimately diagnosed with right lower lung infiltrate pneumonia. And just even 5 days after that, so still here admitted on August 10th. They ultimately ended up fixing the pneumonia, but he's a very G-tube dependent kid, and he was struggling to get back to taking his full feeds again. And so ended up staying a total of 2 weeks with us, just to get him back to his baseline ability to eat, to overcome his pneumonia and his DSAT events. So Um, this is just kind of the overall discharge there on the 14th, of the clinical course of needing antibiotics, fixing that, and then what it took to kind of get him back up to normal feeds, so that he could safely discharge back home. So there's, no wild and crazy care going on with that call. If you just read that initial trip sheet, you'd be like, I don't know, mom said he had a fever. He doesn't have a fever. We took him to the hospital. But just I think some takeaways for me, especially I've been teaching balancing act a lot at EMS agencies lately, and just how on the edge of danger a lot of these kids live, especially if they're oxygen dependent. It does not take much to knock them off their normal baseline. And it's more than one body system once that whole thing starts to go of now we have to solve multiple problems. And so, it's not just DMS, the patients like to eat too. So we got to restore just even, human basics. So just some things that really stood out to me about that call. And we thank the crew for bringing them to us, and just always to have that index of suspicion when you're on a child with medical complexity. It does not take much to make them super sick. And so just always kind of erring on the side of transport and transport to tertiary. And you never quite know how long the hospital stay is going to be on the other side of that, no matter how benign it looks at the beginning. Um, Fall events. This is not lift assist, despite what my EMS brain initially thinks when I read this screen. But this is just a couple of events coming up for some of our EMS agencies that they've messaged us about, and asked us to attend. But Collinsville is going to put on an event for the stars in their area, and then SCAD will be presenting as well, or having an event as well. So if you're doing anything, please let us know. We'll be happy to shout you out and put that on the socials too. But or if you wanted us to come, please feel free to send an invite. We'll try to make it if we can. So just we're thankful for anybody who, kind of spends some extra time to take care of their stars in their area, to meet them in that non-emergency setting. As far as resource updates, I'd given an update about this project last month, but I was just going to fill in a little bit more. So we are going to send out those house stickers for all the families to put on their house. And this is what it'll look like there on the right. That's the template. We'll be mailing those in late October, so your crews might start seeing those as soon as Halloweenish. The QR code does go back to our info website, just so that anybody who scans it will get some information on stars. But if your crews need access to the actual plan because they're walking in for a 911 emergency, what we added to the top of the info website is a link that will just take you directly to the stars registry, so you can log in and get access to the plan. But we're going to try and do this to both improve the amount of people in that kid's ecosystem that are aware of stars, are aware that if they call 911, they need to report stars, the stars number, to get the whole system rolling. And then also, if your crews get there and nobody told you you were going to a stars call, at least you can maybe get started with that. So that's a item that should be rolling out in late October. And we're hoping it'll help everybody out a little bit. Switching gears just a little bit. I have been out teaching a little bit recently, and I still continue to get like a lot of blinking raccoon eyes whenever I start to talk about Missouri or the Kansas Missouri teapot pulse, especially on the Missouri side of the river here. So just to make sure everyone's aware, I think we've talked about it in a few of these meetings, but there is a new advanced directive form that is live this year in Missouri. And we just want to make sure everybody knows that, their crews know that, and know to expect seeing that on a scene, and kind of have some idea of what to do for that. And the other thing I would just ask, especially there's a mixed crowd in here of where you work and where you're from, but the other thing I would really like to see, especially in Missouri side, is let's get rid of the purple form. The Teapot Pulse is a way better form, and it's confusing having two separate forms. So doing some advocacy to say like, hey, they came up with something better, and let's all switch to something better. And I hope that we can make progress on that over the next year or so. But spreading EMS awareness. So obviously I'm speaking a little bit to the Missouri side, but Illinois, obviously you have the Teapot form as well over there, or I'm sorry, the Pulse form. And just making sure that understanding, is prevalent on that side as well. We do have a training up on our LMS. So if this is like news to anybody, or you don't think your crew members are well prepared for it, if we could please share this as a resource out. It's a educational we put on with Dr. Finney, Dr. Laffey, and myself. So please feel free to take that. It's free 0.5 credits. And I think it might apply as well to Illinois. I hate to ask anybody to be a guinea pig, but if one of my Illinois people wanted to take it and you thought it was valuable to that side of the river, we can either use that or we can come up with a new training specific to you, but try to talk through a lot of those same relatively challenging issues, right? But I would rather us tackle that through education before the call versus trying to figure that out in the middle of the call. So open to feedback on any of that, whether you email me or you write it in the eval after you take the course. But we just want to make sure all of that information is getting out into the world. Speaking of information out into the world, so this is a project that was initiated by Danny Lee of the Missouri EMSC through PPN and was able to receive a lot of support from in our office as well, trying to come up with education modules aimed at multiple providers for our CMC kiddos when they go home. Just trying to prepare families for, how to have emergency preparedness, prepare home health nursing, and prepare EMS. Like, hey, what are we going to do about all these medical devices and technologies we're encountering? So the first three modules of that are up. It's maybe a little bit more family focused here at the beginning, albeit it will only take a few minutes out of your time, and maybe an appreciation of what a brand new CMC family feels whenever they're going to get discharged home. So please feel free to take that, share that with other parents that you know, or other people in your community. But it's all free. It's just meant to try to tackle this corner of the world that we're trying to improve, right? And so that is all live and available now. The first three modules. The first one is just an introduction to the topic, emergency readiness, and then first day at home are the first three. And then we're working on building more modules. And some of the later modules will apply even more to us as pre-hospital and emergency providers. And so that is one of the big things that has gotten out the door here in the last month. So any questions about that set of modules just while I'm on it? Don't know if you're talking to me phone number, but I cannot hear you if you are. All right. If you don't mind putting it in chat, I'm gonna keep going there until I hear something. So and so stars numbers, where we're currently at with everything. So continuing to spread far and wide, and added 24 new kids since our last meeting. So really kind of keeping up with that, nearly one per day. Dispatches we're down a little bit for August, as you'll see shortly, but have bounced back sharply in September. And as always, thank you to my dispatch agencies who continue to beat all of us plan writers. And I hope it stays that way for time eternal. But thank you guys for staying logged in. I think that is working super well, and I appreciate it where it's working. As I mentioned, dispatches were down just slightly in August. We only had 26 in the system, but already up to 37 here as of September 18th. And then people getting in, a lot of people getting in for care plan reviews. I have seen a lot of education as well, so please continue to use it for that purpose. We thank you for that. As far as transport calls so far, you can kind of see upper left box is just year to date 911 calls that we know about that happened. And then you can see your reasons for the call there in for August. A lot of vomiting going on. Maybe that's a little bit back to school, but finally got a third one to jump in there with seizures and respiratory distress. And then of the calls where we knew outcomes, 23 were direct to tertiary transports. So thank you guys for continuing to hold those numbers strongly. And then 9 non-transports that we knew of. EMS continue to see a lot of trach management throughout the year here. So that seems to be disproportionately high on airway management, albeit maybe not for our program, but it continued to surprise me throughout the year how often our providers are having to do that. So I hope everyone is feeling more comfortable. Please let us know if we need to come retrain on trach at all, but happy to do that. Or else there's, of course, the LMS course if you have individual users that you just want to brush up on it. And then you can see just only 2 cases of medication administration for this past month.
Yeah.
EMD care plan approvals actually continued to creep up a little bit. A bit of a discussion was held with the care plan writers at our meeting, and we'll continue to try and work on this. I think a few outliers greatly drug it up in the last couple months, but certainly something to keep our eyes on so that we can keep that time to from plan submission to time approval as short as possible, so that the kids are discharging and going home with live plans. I had mentioned this last time, but just to continue to reiterate it, just some upcoming website changes. We are going to put a lot more, I shouldn't say a lot more, we're going to put more information around the different agencies and hospitals and clinics, people who use the platform every day, including, URL links and an email address. But what we ultimately hope to do is to tie the plan and the communication through that plan to this extra information that exists so that, for instance, if we discharge a brand new kid to Big River here today, that email will go to somebody at Big River, but then also we can send an email to parents and be like, hey, welcome to the STARS plan or program. Here's your plan, and then here's contact information so you can try to arrange a meet and greet with your local EMS provider, trying to really encourage those best practices that we think exist nationwide to address these challenges before they occur. I say all that, and I'm trying to give some lead time, some preface time, especially for some of my agencies. If you want to have that go to like a STARS email address, as opposed to like an individual's email address. Or same thing if you have like on your web page, you have a separate stars section, which some of the EMS providers do. If we can start to grab those URLs or have those emails available, or you can edit those in whenever we launch this piece. But then that way you're directing your community members to go look at the information that you want them to see as well. So I'm going to probably talk about this a few more times until it goes live at the end of this year, but I just kind of want to start to set the stage for all of that. And then to continue, I know a few more people have sent us some area maps or URLs or programs that they use, but just continuing to look for service area maps so that we can try to provide better information to our plan writers so they can more accurately assign EMS and any EMRA fire agencies as well to the response for a kid. We have to pick an EMS in order to write the plan, but we don't always know, especially the other first responders in the area. So if you have a map by county or by geographic area of where your agency covers, we'd be appreciative of that map so that we can put it in a website for the plan writers to be able to see. This is a slight aside, but I hear it's very important. I think I remember back in my brain cells or my memory cells that it was very important as far as EMS break room. So I just wanted to give a shout out that some of our outreach members here did update our EMS room. But one of the most important things in there, we do have the post-call surveys are listed via QR code in there. We're just asking that, if your crew members don't mind, would they please, if they transport a STARS kid, fill it out. Please tell us what happened. If it's good, I'd love to hear the good. Please tell me the bad and what we can do better. But we're just trying to capture that so we can QI our program as much as possible. This is still a bit novel and new across the nation, and we want to find ways to make it work better and prove that it is working. And so we'd just be very thankful for any surveys that respond. I'm open to suggestions for whatever form of bribery might help that. I was going to put like a box of popsicles in the freezer with like a 2 thumbs up photo of me or something, whatever it takes. But if we can please get a few more surveys back. We are capturing them from families as well. Just a slight note, if you would like our team to come out and educate, we do have forms to request our team now. So if you don't mind filling that out, we discuss those every Monday with our outreach team, just looking at all the requests and assigning people to it. And so that would be an easy way to request some extra STARS education from us. I mentioned the new stars video last time, but that will be in the slide deck as well. This is also something you can share with family, or if you want to put it on your stars website, if you have a separate site on your EMS page, please feel free to add it there. If you love to run, please come run with me. And then I just launched a poll in the chat for this meeting. It should be in there. And just one thing we're kind of asking, I'm trying to figure out the best time to host this meeting for 2026. And I thought it might make the most sense to offer the people who come a chance to give me feedback on the poll first. And then we might run it through our socials as well. But just trying to find the best time um, to meet with all of you. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to help us on the Stars venture. So that is everything I had prepared for today. But we do have a few minutes left here for open session. If anybody has any questions or concerns, and I will stop recording so we can do that.
I have a couple things, Nick.
Okay.